showtime.
It's the pre-party with J. Cal.
We are professional wrestling.
I'm building an alliance.
You are tuned into
the absolute top of the mountain, the ultimate professional wrestling.
Alliance-wrestling.com.
Well, I promise you I'm here. Hello, greetings from Beaver Creek, Colorado. My name is J. Cal, and this is the pre-party, a presentation of Alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance and the United Wrestling Network. So yeah, what is up, everyone? I am happy to be talking to you. I am, in fact, in Colorado, and for your amusement, here are some videos of my daughters playing in snow. So what's up, everyone? This, like I said, is the pre-party, and I am in Beaver Creek, Colorado, but that doesn't stop the Alliance blog now, does it? Because we're here broadcasting live to talk to you about tonight's episode of NWA POWERRR. And what an episode we are going to have tonight. I mean, the NWA Women Tag Team titles will be on the line. We have the in-ring debut of Matt Cardona. Well, let me rephrase that. We know that Matt Cardona will be a part of tonight's NWA Power. I don't know if he will actually be wrestling, but we know we will have the debut of Mike Knox after his failed attempt to secure the 10 pounds of gold. Also in action, a lot of matches, actually. This is kind of a little refreshing because we're going to see some more. Well, hold on now. Oops, pushed the wrong button there. We're going to see a couple more matches today, so it should be a fun show. I'm looking forward to it. But for a minute, I'd like to talk about Jimmy Rave. Now, some of you new fans to the NWA within the last few years, you might not know who Jimmy Rave was. And on Instagram, well, I tried to collect my thoughts because it was kind of shocking to hear. If you didn't know, Jimmy was really battling a lot. All right. He had a couple of issues going on. I know in the past there were some drug addictions, so he was always kind of fighting his demons. I know that wrestling was everything to him. He got diagnosed with like a flesh-eating bacteria. And it's not like just what you hear on House. I mean, this thing was literally coming after him. They amputated his arm. They thought they got it. He was still in the hospital. Never got through that. They amputated both of his legs. And it was really gruesome, really grim. And I'll be perfectly honest, not the way anyone wants to go. He's survived by his two kids and a bevy of family and friends who mourn his loss. To the NWA, he was a two-time junior heavyweight champion. He was very much a part of the Bill Barron's promotions in Atlanta, Georgia, whether that be Wildside or later Anarchy. He was very infectious with his popularity, with his positivity. He also helped train many wrestlers. WWE's Gigi, Priscilla Kelly, was somebody who was trained by Jimmy Rave. And the way that I used to talk about Jimmy Rave is he was a guy who I really felt was the MVP, the utility player for the National Wrestling Alliance, because at different times he was different things for the brand. Oh, you guys are losing the signal? I am doing a live stream, so I don't know if you guys are seeing me or not. Well, that's not great. He was basically a utility guy for the National Wrestling Alliance. He could be a babyface. He could be a heel. He was a two-time junior heavyweight champion. He also competed for NWA Anarchy and NWA Wildside. His faction, the Jimmy Rave approved faction, was kind of a dominant force there in the Georgia scene. And then also, he was a guy who was giving back to the community. He was training wrestlers in the Northeast. He was a part of Combat Zone Wrestling, where he feuded with some of the top stars like AJ Styles. But the reason why I called him a utility guy is, like I said, he could play both the babyface and the heel, but he could go anywhere. They could put him in a tag team. In fact, Impact did that with Lance Archer, and they put them as the Rock and Rave Infection. But then also a few years back, when Adam Pearce won the title for a third time, it was Jimmy Rave was one of the members of that match. Sorry if I'm rambling here. There's a lot I could go on to say about Jimmy Rave, but I'll save that for another time. We were going to have him on one of our episodes of the Pound for Pound podcast, the retrospect of the junior heavyweight division. Full disclosure, guys, we recorded that last year. We recorded 3 episodes, and then we interviewed Barrett Brown, who was the last man to hold that championship. We were also going to reach out to Chase Owens. I reached out to Jimmy Ray, and unfortunately, he never had the right time. And as somebody who I really admired throughout his career with the National Wrestling Alliance, he was someone I was really looking forward to speaking to. And 39 is far, far too young for anybody, especially someone as beloved as Jimmy Rave. So with that being said, life advice, guys, make sure you tell the people you love that you love them daily. Make sure you tell the people you appreciate that you appreciate them daily, because we just never know when things will change. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people wishing they would have said those things to Jimmy Rave before he passed. So just real quick, and I know we've already kind of done it, but I'd like to have just a moment of silence for Jimmy Ray. So, as far as the NWA goes, there's a lot of great things coming to the plate. We know that in January, the NWA will have another taping event. The Duval Brawl, which is a Love Alive charity, will be presenting an NWA event. And we know that the only match I think has been announced yet is Trevor Murdoch taking on Gangrel. I hear a lot of people saying, Gangrel, what did he do to deserve a title shot? First and foremost, guys, this is the NWA. When was the last time anybody did anything to earn a title shot? Secondly, this is a local show for a local audience that fortunately will be taped for a greater audience. The goal of this show is to raise money for charity, for the Love Alive charity. So I don't expect them to pull out all the bells and whistles. I don't expect that there'll be names who will shock the world because they're wrestling for the NWA. They're names who are available. And I think this is really cool. Dodie just said that JTG will be there. Maybe the artist formerly known as Fandango will be there. Maybe we'll get the Dirty Sexy Boys. But regardless of any of that, at the end of the day, this is a charity event. So we're hoping that there's a great big turnout there. We're hoping that a lot of people are excited to see Trevor Murdoch. This will be his third title defense, of course, unless something happened during the Power tapings where he did defend the title as well. But, I mean, this is good. This is what we want. We want the NWA infiltrating smaller venues, smaller arenas. It wasn't that long ago that the NWA was basically just a product of Atlanta, out of that Georgia Public Broadcasting studio. So to see the NWA get back on its legs after more than it had a sabbatical for the pandemic pause, but even getting back to St. Louis was a huge deal for the NWA. So these shows with Tried and True in Kentucky, or with the Love Alive charity in Florida, these things are going to help the NWA start continuing to tour. Nick Aldis recently said in an interview that the way the NWA could benefit from this big promotional war between the WWE and the AEW is that those promotions are currently running the larger cities, larger venues. They're trying to sell out football stadium arenas, when the NWA, I mean, they can continue to work in these rec centers, bingo halls, small arenas, 5,000 seat arenas, and that could be good business for them. So hopefully we'll see more of that. I think it'll be great. And as Doty points out, more NWA titles being defended equals more NWA shows being held. Good for the NWA, good for us fans. And that's 100%. I agree with him on that. Bobby Petito says, is Camille defending the NWA Women's World Championship against Mercedes Martinez on December the 18th? And the answer is absolutely she is. That event has been going on for quite a while, been in the works for quite a while. We learned about that match a couple months ago, but it is going to be for the Women's Championship, and it's at Battleground Championship Wrestling. Now, this show has got a hell of a lineup. If you are in South Jersey, I mean, this is one you want to go to, because, like, this show, look, I don't know if you're into legends, but Bully Ray and Jerry Lawler, I think that's a pretty cool match to be a part of. Somebody who I'm very big on, Ray Jazz, will be teaming with Too Cold Scorpio to take on Casey Navarro and Shane Douglas. Whew. Also on the card, you're going to have Dave LaGreca interviewing ECW legend Raven. Plus, you've got the Beast Man and Ace Romero taking on Bear Country from AEW. In a Philly street fight, you've got Jonah taking on PCO. Speaking of Gangrel, he'll be taking on Kevin Thorne in what's called a Night of the Damned match. You've got Steve Gipke, also who works with our friends over at the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators in South Jersey. He'll be taking on Eric Redbeard. Tony Nese versus the former Buddy Murphy, now Buddy Matthews. Mercedes Martinez challenging Camille for the NWA Women's Championship. And then from AAA, Laredo Kid taking on Drago. I mean, that's a hell of a card. But, I mean, let's, for just a minute, acknowledge the fact that the Women's World Champion will yet again be defending her Burke in foreign territory outside the safety confines of the National Wrestling Alliance. And at this point, is there anybody in the NWA who's defended their championship as regularly, as broadly as Camille? And I think the answer is nay, good sir. I think this is really, really cool. Kind of also lends more credence to the fact that the new national treasure is Camille, because she is making these bookings. She's taking these shows. She's taking that Burke all over. And I think that's important. That's what Nick Aldis did with the 10 pounds of gold when he first won the title, is that he took that championship everywhere. Now, Camille hasn't had any international defenses yet, but you know what? We're still going through this global pandemic, and their travel isn't exactly open for everybody. So we'll have to wait and see. But, I mean, kudos to Camille. Kudos to the NWA for giving her those opportunities. I think this is pretty dope, and I think this is a good thing for the NWA. Doty points out that in February, we'll also have the TV tapings with Tried and True in Nashville, or maybe back in Kentucky again. And either way, that's pretty good, because we know that the rumblings have been that the Crockett Cup will be in March. Now, I don't think we've had an official announcement yet from the NWA, but all signs point to March will be the Crockett Cup. Heeb says that Tyrus is on the Jacksonville card, baby. I mean, look, you can't underestimate the fact that Tyrus is your television champion. And although maybe you don't like him as a pro wrestler, and maybe you like him even less as a human being, the fact of the matter is that guy goes on Fox News every day with a big red strap with a silver title on it that represents the World Television Championship, a title that was made famous by Arn Anderson, a title that was made famous by, all of a sudden I went blank, right? Ricky Starks. I mean, the title in itself was made famous in the NWA by the Pope, but right now the man holding it today is Tyrus, and he's putting that belt on TV, nationally distributed TV across the coast to coast. So say what you will about Tyrus, but it is getting some publicity for the NWA, and we'll see how things continue to go with that. Sean Mega says they should stop the 4-day taping marathon. I mean, look, I understand why the NWA does what it does. It's a cost-saving measure. They're able to tape for 4 days. That maximizes the venues that they're in. It maximizes the investment for these shows. But I think you're right that it does tend to kill momentum, especially when we're watching stuff that was filmed 4 months ago. And, you know, for example, Hard Times 2, like those matches were from back in August, leading us into December. It's kind of a hard sell. Furthermore, I feel like there are other brands who have similar, maybe a little bit smaller reach that can do monthly tapings. I think the NWA should pony up and try to do the same. Championship Wrestling from Atlanta has, I think, now done 3 official shows. I don't think they took anything in December. Championship Wrestling from Hollywood has done their monthly show and taped hours of tapings for the following month. We know that they did that in Arizona as well, and they're currently doing that in Memphis. And I feel like if those brands can do it, then the NWA should be able to do it. If there's a problem with the financing at this point, I mean, between the live events, the merchandise that they're selling, the fact that they're still charging us $4.99 every month for Power, and the fact that they're bringing back more content to YouTube, their cost should be offset by this by now. They should be able to do monthly TV tapings. I think it's time. I agree with you, Sean Mega. Doty says, come on, it's NWA legend Raven. Hey, I look, I was reading the Doty's got my Doty's busting my chops here. Yeah, I was reading the event poster because it's in the ECW arena. Raven is a former NWA World Champion. I've even had him sign my 10 pounds of replica belt. And now he's back working with the NWA, which I think is great. We'll see his work very soon. I guess that's Saturday, January 8th, when it kicks off on YouTube. So that'll be fun. Willie says that Jimmy Rave was in the NWA TNA. Yeah, he was even before that. He was the junior heavyweight champion around that 2002, 2003 era. And then also he was played a pivotal role in Wildside. Like we said earlier, he had held the Wildside junior heavyweight championship. And even before that, we're looking at, he spent a lot of time with CZW, Combat Zone Wrestling, Ring of Honor, helped kind of, he was part of that embassy that brought in a lot of talents to CZW and eventually the Ring of Honor. So I think that's a pretty cool thing. Heeb says, I haven't watched a Gangrel match, and he very much wrestles like a guy legend. Kick, punch, chop, work the crowd, walks with a limp, but moves when he needs to move. You know, it maybe we all have bump cards, right? And even us non-wrestlers have bump cards. I mean, how many times have you fallen? I mean, this weekend I'm out here in Colorado with tons of snow on the ground. You can only fall so many times before you can't get back up. Wrestlers seem to have an extended punch card. Adam Pearce famously said, like, he still has one last bump on that card, but it probably won't be for an actual match. So guys like Gangrel, who've been around, not since the 90s and the Attitude Era, but we're talking about the late 80s, you know, he's been around. David Heath, Gangrel, the Vampire Warrior, whatever you want to call him, he's been wrestling for quite some time. So if he doesn't move the way he's used to, if he doesn't move the way we would like him to, I mean, that's just a byproduct of his time in the business. Certified Hustler, what's up, man? He says Matt Cardona debuts tonight. I'm excited to see Matt. Is he actually wrestling? That's what I'm not sure of. And here's the thing. For me, Matt Cardona doesn't draw me in. He doesn't grab my attention. He doesn't say, "Hey Jay, you need to order this next pay-per-view," based on his name alone. But I saw what he was able to do with Game Changer Wrestling. I saw how he got so much heat. Now, they gave him a heat because he wasn't welcomed. I don't know what the NWA and how they will treat Matt Cardona. Is he a talented guy? Yes. Can he cut a promo? Yes. Is he the biggest draw since Nick Aldis? No. And we'll see what he's capable of. And a good storyline could really change my opinion very quickly. So we'll see how that all plays out. He says, I'm interested to see if Murdoch works a heel come mid-March. I mean, it's very possible, right? You can see how frustrated he's getting, and we don't know the storyline so far, but the first episode back, I mean, he was just heated, and Aaron Stevens, all he did was congratulate him. So we'll see how that works out. But our friend Bobby Petito wants to say that he was at the Shine 70 last weekend. He got to see Ivelisse versus Natalia Markova, Team Hex. Sounds like a pretty good show. Shine has always been really had their hand on the pulse of women's wrestling. Of course, Shimmer's kind of like the women's promotion until Mission Pro recently came into existence. We'll see how this all pans out. A lot of those talents hopefully will be back with the NWA. We'll see. Just reading some more of your comments. And then wrestling with MMA, going back to Tyrus. That's the only thing about the Tyrus I'll ever see him holding in that channel. Hopefully. Let's see. I'm just reading some of your guys' comments. Now, we have a good show tonight. I think a lot of people will be excited to see it. Bobby Petito said Kylie King looked really good against Camille last weekend. And I mean, if you look at some of the names that Camille has taken down in the last few months, I mean, we're talking she beat legit Layla Hirsch. She defeated Chelsea Green. She defeated Christy James. She defeated Kylie King. She's set to face Mercedes Martinez at the next Saturday or this Saturday. So she is certainly a talent. And what she's doing, I think, is pretty remarkable. Dodie says, not buys Tyrus Fox News thing. It neither benefits nor harms the NWA, but Tyrus NWA performance has proved better than expected. Controversial as he is, at least he's been good with the locker room. And I'm not exactly in the inside of the NWA, but the word is that he is loved by everyone in the back. So, I mean, take that as what you will with it. But if he is making a positive impact in the locker room, it's kind of hard to go anywhere else with that, right? Because politics shouldn't really matter with what they're doing inside the ring or the stories they're trying to tell in the NWA. But I do disagree with you, Dodie. I think him holding that title on Fox News certainly lends to some more credibility for the NWA. For somebody who's never watched NWA Power but are familiar with Tyrus and familiar with this Fox News show, might be interested in checking out what the NWA is all about. Furthermore, he's a former WWE superstar holding an NWA title, and it's very recognizable. I think that's part of the selling point with Tyrus as champion. Maybe that's me. Wrestling with MMA, I am in Avon. We're in Beaver Creek Village. It's a big ski town. My wife booked all this, and it's kind of a late birthday present, early Christmas gift. It's been fun, but we don't ski. We don't snowboard. So we might go ice skating later. I'll make sure if I'm out there on the ice, you can see me fall 100 times. But it's a beautiful area, beautiful spot. Doty says Ricky Morton, of course, is NWA, and he also brings his son, which has a potential future. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't want to poo-poo Kenny Morton. He's a young guy. I have not been blown away by him yet, but I don't think he's done anything to make me write him off yet either. It'll be interesting to see what happens next with him. Doty makes a good point. If Cordova proves his loyalty to perform regularly for the NWA, then I could treat him more seriously. I agree with that. I think the more he is a part of the NWA, the more we can buy into it. But like, I think a byproduct of the NWA growing is you're going to see new faces. The other byproduct of having new faces in the NWA, you're going to see some old faces disappear. It's happened before. It'll happen again, and it'll continue to happen. There is a sliding scale. There's only so many opportunities for the NWA. And I know some of you are going to say, well, they have this second show. But if that second show is dedicated to the junior heavyweight division and maybe a few national title matches, which that's from all intents and purposes of what I've heard the show is, that's cool. But it still doesn't give more exposure to some guys who have been a part of the show since day one. So we'll see how that's going to work. Sean Mega says, not sure if we're going to talk about last week Power, but I want to see Jack Stain's heel run. He's been great and believable, and he looks like a badass and cuts a good promo. That's what I've been saying. Jack Stain is perfect for this era of the NWA. And if there's one man in the NWA right now who could stand toe-to-toe with Trevor Murdoch and not look weak and could cut beautiful, great, eloquent promos, it's Jack Stain. Now, I don't know what they're doing with him when he loses to Mims on the pre-show for the pay-per-view, but then gets that win back the following TV show. But I do feel like Jack Stain has a lot to offer the NWA, and it'd be foolish not to continue to push that. Phil Talk Sports. What's up, Phil? Says, I was concerned about bringing the junior heavyweight title back, that there'd be too many belts, but having the second show will really help with that. Yes and no. See, my problem is they have 1 week, or up until recently, they had about 50 minutes of television every week. And in that 50 minutes of television, we got probably about a good 20 minutes, maybe 15 minutes of wrestling. And then we got a lot of promo, and then we got a lot of silliness and stuff. But I don't feel like they've had an opportunity to put the spotlight on some more of the talent. Guys like Marche Rocket, JTG has been there for a while, and I don't really feel like they've shined a spotlight on them. But we'll see with this new show. The addition of the junior heavyweight title is great, but I mean, you just added the women's tag team, and you're having difficulties finding opportunities for real tag teams to come in. And now you have another title with a whole other division. So now there's like 4 different divisions within the NWA, and it gets a little bit more chaotic to each championship, each division, each show getting that spotlight. So it'll be, I'm going to wait and see. I don't want to pass judgment on anything I haven't actually watched yet, but I really feel like Billy has got a very interesting how this is all going to roll out, and with these new seemingly more regular live event tapings. I mean, I don't even know what Power is going to look like. There's talk that they might not return to Atlanta, and if that's the case, then I mean, what will Power become? Will it be like a roving show that goes from city to city? I mean, I'm not against that, especially if we get quality like we got By Any Means Necessary. That show was pretty great. Phil says, just my weekly comment about how much I hate Austin Idol on commentary. Salute, Phil. Agreed. Willie with the Tyrus joke. We always got to put those in on this show. If you've been watching for 5 minutes or you've been watching for the last year and a half, every time there's a Tyrus joke, I'm going to put it in. Willie Bowen says, Tyrus is good at putting food away at a buffet. Yeah, man. Bobby Petito says, I was at Shine 70. Mega Bane impressed me on Shine 70. I would like to see Mega Bane versus Camille for the Women's World Championship. Get out there and tweet. Bobby, I love that you come in here with the match ideas, and that's totally cool. But I think you're going to get better traction if you get a large Twitter audience to retweet these and share them in a polite manner. The NWA, I don't think they're against listening to their audience. I mean, you're seeing changes that are happening on the show. The second YouTube show. I mean, we've been talking about. Excuse me, let me get a drink here. We've been talking about the NWA adding a secondary show since they took all the shows off of YouTube, right? So adding this additional program, I think, is the NWA 100% listening to its fan base saying, hey, we want content. We don't necessarily want to pay for that content, because I guarantee you, when the NWA in the first 2 seasons of Power were averaging over 150,000 views per episode, a lot of those subscribers to YouTube were paying for pay-per-views that aren't buying Power. And maybe they stopped buying pay-per-views because they don't see the value of that anymore. So getting back on YouTube, I think, is really going to be beneficial. And I'm really looking forward to it for the NWA. Again, Saturday, January 8th. Heebs says, Tyrus holding the title on Fox News gets more eyes on his TV title than WWE shows on cable. I mean, that's probably legit. And look, I know it's not him in the ring on Fox News, and I know it's not really it's not a big infomercial for the NWA, but the fact of the matter is he's showing up on TV with that red belt. And I don't know about you guys. I grew up I'm a kid of the 80s, right? I was born in 78, so I grew up in the 80s. And titles became synonymous with the people who held them. So when I saw that 10 pounds of gold, I instantly pictured Ric Flair. In the late 90s, I pictured Dan Severn. With that being said, the AWA title, I know that there were many better champions, but I will always remember Rick Martel holding that AWA championship. I mean, I still have them. Well, I probably don't have it now, but I used to have that magazine cover from Pro Wrestling Illustrated with Rick Martel and the AWA championship, and that's etched into my memory. And I think more repetition. When you see Tyrus with that TV title on Fox News, again, if you watch that program, it already cements the fact that Tyrus is the TV champion. But I think more and more people who see that red belt are going to make that connection between Tyrus and the NWA. And hopefully that brings more eyes to the NWA. You know, I can't say for sure, and I'd be lying to you if I said it was anything more than that. But more talk on Tyrus. Doty says he's been good with the locker room. He even endorsed Trevor on Fox. He also proved to be not hard to work with, and as long as he stays in the mid-card heel spot every week, he's going to be okay. And you know what, Doty, that's a great breakdown right there. You know, in his role, he's not doing any harm. Anybody who potentially got turned off to watching the show because of his political views, okay. I mean, I don't blame you, but I'm also not following suit. I'm going to just watch it for wrestling. Field Talk Sports says he'd be shocked if the British Invasion isn't the next tag team champions. You know, it's such a crazy world we live in right now, Phil. When you've got the FTR showing up on the Ring of Honor's final battle, with the Briscoes regaining those regaining the Ring of Honor tag team titles, with rumors that the Briscoes will be heading to AEW. The fact that, you know, they're still current, maybe they're not currently. They were the Game Changer tag team champions. This whole Tony Khan, Forbidden Door thing, it's been kicked open so hard. I don't know if it's ever going to be shut. I mean, Matt Cardona is said to be under contract with Impact. Yeah, he's coming to the NWA. So with these guys who are working elsewhere, it wouldn't shock me to see them come to the NWA. So, you know, the NWA did feature the Briscoes at the 2019 Crockett Cup. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they showed up in the NWA. I mean, we just had the OKG here, and I'm assuming they're going to be on TV for a couple more weeks too. I just think this is a wild time to be alive for pro wrestling, and I think we're going to see things that we might not be used to seeing. Sean Mega says, really, there's no limit on their TV shows. It can be 45 minutes one week, 90 the next week, and that's the great thing about being independent. Absolutely. And remember, they couldn't get away with that if they were on TBS, right? Like, look, you're going to give us this much time. You're going to give us this much programming. and that's a beneficial for the NWA because if they just don't have enough content, they can end the show early. I mean, I don't advocate for that, but they certainly could. Lamb says the women's tag team titles are kind of like a way to have Alisyn and Marti on the show, and they kind of control the booking of the titles while doing their regular indie bookings. I mean, they're also the Shine Tag Team Champions as well. So I think that's cool. It's good for them. It's good for the NWA, but I just don't know that it's the best. Hey, good luck with interviewing JP. At some point, we're supposed to have him on the Alliance Guys podcast, but as we get closer to the holidays, I just don't think it's going to happen in 2021, maybe next year. But good luck. I hope you have a great conversation. Fee says, hey, troops, late to the chat, but not to the show. Hope you're all good. Fee, we're always good. Great to see you. Hope everything's well. Hustler's making the bold prediction that the British Invasion will win the Crockett Cup. And, maybe. I'm not going to be so bold as to make that prediction just because there are lots of things that can happen between now and then. Famously, last year, the NWA, right at the deadline, renewed the contract of both the world champion and the women's champion in Nick Aldis and Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa was supposed to be under contract until 12/31/2021, but she's no longer a member of the National Wrestling Alliance. Nick Aldis' contract is set to expire sometime very, very soon. He might not even be in the NWA in a month, let alone at the Crockett Cup. And I'm not saying that as a Nick hater. I'm just saying there's so much opportunity right now. Even despite Ring of Honor closing, there's just so much opportunity. You don't know what will be presented to you. Maybe New Japan, maybe Pro Wrestling Noah, maybe the WWE, maybe AEW, maybe Impact. I would be shocked if a big money contract came to Nick Aldis and he refused it for the NWA. But, that's just me. And then, Dodie says, with the influx of tag teams in the NWA, let me try that again. With the influx of tag teams in the NWA now, I begin not to expect from outside teams for Crockett Cup. Not even FTR. Time for Hawkari to shine. Saito brothers are the exception because I'm because I'm an All Japan Pro Wrestling Mark. Dodie, don't ever change, brother. I love you, man. One of the things that my biggest complaint for the NWA is that they didn't have enough solid tag teams. So what they do? They went and brought in The End, and they had the War Kings, and then Hawkari, right? So they had some pretty good tag teams to go with Aarons and Stevens. And then on the side, you even still had Strictly Business with Latimer and Adonis, and then they made some other makeshift tag teams. But then, they broke up War Kings. Hawkari kind of got pushed to the wayside. The whole season kind of will Kratos and Stevens be able to work together? Will they be able to coexist? But at the end of the day, I mean, we still have some pretty good tag teams, even when they broke up the War Kings, who my bet were one of the best tag teams in the NWA. You still have The End. Mecha Wolf and Beastia 666 are awesome, phenomenal dudes. I've been able to watch them live a couple times in Mexico. You guys have been able to see them a couple times on Power and pay-per-views. They're a solid tag team. So finding opponents for them, I don't think is going to be hard, especially with the addition of the OKG, especially the addition of the British Invasion. And of course, the other makeshift tag teams that the NWA still continues to use, like Kratos and Stevens. And who knows? I mean, by the time the Crockett Cup comes around, I mean, if there is no outside help, you're right. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. If they want to go, and get some help from Tony Khan or Impact Wrestling, I mean, could you imagine FTR, the Briscoes, the OKG, Hawkari, The End, the British Invasion? Hell, maybe even they throw in La Rebellion for shits and giggles. I think that'd be a lot of fun. And then Sean Mega says, what about the Koloff Dynasty? And that's another team that would make a lot of sense there. So yeah, I do think that the Crockett Cup is really starting to shape up. I mean, no matches have been announced yet. I don't think they've even announced a location or a date yet, but it's got to be coming. And I really feel like the NWA is definitely loading up on tag teams for this. And Hustler, yeah, man, that your new image, I know you're trying to get more professional, brother, and that's the way to do it. You start off with your image, protect that, make it mean something. You know, the Firebird Eagle that the Alliance blog has been using has basically been the same since 2009. And we branded on t-shirts. That logo is synonymous with the Alliance. If anyone sees that, they know exactly what we are. And, for a lot of people, when they see that logo, they think of the NWA as well. So get out there and work hard and treat people fairly, and you'll earn respect. Roswell says, I don't want to see them as winners at the Crockett Cup. Are you talking about the British Invasion? Oh, yeah. See, another tag team, Sean Mega. You're just throwing it out there once again. Fandango and JTG is a new tag team as well. Yeah, the Dirty Sexy Boys. So, again, there's just a lot of room for growth. I don't think that they will have a lack of tag teams, but hopefully the NWA will continue to cultivate these tag teams. So when the Crockett Cup happens and whoever emerges victorious really has some meaning to it. If we're fantasy booking here real quick, if we can get FTR in the Crockett Cup, I would like to ask for Kingston on Borrow and put Kingston and Homicide in the Crockett Cup as well. That's just me. Bobby Petito says that Mercedes Martinez had a great match against Thunder Rosa last Sunday on Warrior Wrestling. Yeah, Mercedes Martinez is great. She's very technically sound. That's why that she was in the WWE for that brief moment. I really feel like her and Camille will have an excellent match. And again, iron sharpens iron. So the better opponents that Camille faces off against, the better she's going to become as a world's women's champion. And, the work is really benefiting. We used to say that the title was the draw, right? The 10 pounds of gold, it's been on Adam Pearce. It's been on Colt Cabana. It's been on Blue Demon Jr. It's been on Brent Albright. It's been on The Sheik. It's been on Rob Conway. The one consistent with that title is the title in and of itself. It didn't matter who held it, whether it be Tokyo Monster Kahagas or Jack Stane or Hiroshi Tenzin or Tim Storm. That title has been synonymous with wrestling legend, right? Wrestling history. And for what Camille's doing right now, I think she's mirroring how the NWA over the years was able to grow and keep that title, that 10 pounds of gold, legitimate. That's what Camille is doing with the Burke. She's keeping that title legitimate, and I think it's awesome. Doty says, interesting. We once complained that Billy hated tag team, but now he gives us more tag teams. Did he hear us? My short answer, Doty, is yes. He absolutely heard us. He absolutely heard us, because the fact of the matter is, this is the strongest fan base in pro wrestling. This NWA family, that hashtag NWA fam. Yes, they hear you. I promise you that they hear you. I'm not on the inside. But just look at what's happened over the last few years. When Aaron Stevens came back, what did we say? We wanted him heel. Guess who's a heel now? You know what I mean? We said we needed more tag teams. Guess what we got? We said we wanted Alisyn Kay and Marti Belle back in the NWA. What did we get? We said we wanted Trevor Murdoch as world's heavyweight champion. What did we get? They are paying off what you guys are asking for. I promise you. And as long as the fans continue to be respectful, right, and continue to be pro NWA, you guys' voices will be heard. I promise you, it's happening. It's happening. Oh, you already saw that one. Dave Scooby says, Trevor was on Busted Open today and mentioned Kingston and Bully Ray as guys he'd like to face in the ring. Bully Ray used to be the long-standing boyfriend for Velvet Sky. I don't know if that was breaking news for any of you guys. They recently broke up, which is, that's life. Relationships come, relationships go. But to me, that would have been the perfect one time to bring in Bully Ray and have him challenge, Murdoch, or have him challenge whoever the world champion would be, because Velvet Sky still has a championship series golden ticket that she could hand out to anybody or use herself. Remember, she has an opportunity that she could face Camille for the title. She could team up with somebody and go after the women's tag team titles, or she could bestow that gift upon anybody within the NWA or without of the NWA. And I think the storyline would have made perfect sense if she would have brought Bully Ray for one time, said, you know what, this is my boyfriend, and I want to see him become world's heavyweight champion. I wouldn't put the belt on Bully Ray. No, hell no. But I would certainly like to see him face Trevor Murdoch. I think that would be fun. Let's see. Bobby Batito is, I think, talking about a women's Crockett Cup series, because he's talking about the Renegade Twins, who I think are the Mission Pro Tag Champions, Hell on Heels, which was that makeshift champions of Sahara 7 and Renee Michelle, and then the Free Babes and Blonde Force Trauma. I don't know if you guys heard this, but Miranda Gordy is signed with MLW today, so I don't think you'll be seeing her anytime soon in the NWA. And then Willie Bowen says the British Invasion versus La Rebellion would be a great tag team championship match. There's a lot of parallels between those teams. Of course, size and strength probably would go to the British Invasion, but don't underestimate how powerful Mecha Wolf is, and don't underestimate how quick Bestia is, because they are a solid tag team. That is for sure. But looking at the card for tonight, I mean, we've got, again, we're going to hear from Strictly Business. I don't know exactly what they're going to say. I mean, what can be said? Seemingly they walked away from all this, and it seems like that's all done now. He's part of the British Invasion. So it doesn't seem like there's any reason for that to continue, but maybe it will. We've got the Dirty Sexy Boys versus the former tag champions in Kratos and Stevens. This will be a very telling match because, for one, we don't know a whole lot about the Dirty Sexy Boys. I mean, if you're a fan of the WWE and know Fandango and Cool, we know JTG is a solid in-ring worker. I was really hoping he would get a run with that television title. But nevertheless, I mean, two very solid, talented individuals. Who knows, maybe the NWA will strike lightning twice by putting a tag team together of guys who just weren't tag team wrestlers before, or at least teaming together before. We're going to hear from the Sinister Minister, Father James Mitchell. I mean, what is he going to say? What could be relevant at this point? You brought in a big dude in Judas to go after the national championship. You won the battle royal. You got your ass handed by James Storm. And then you go on to wrestle against the national championship. It didn't make much of a mark. Let's not forget, Adonis won that match relatively cleanly. And that was two heels in the ring. Didn't even have to cheat to win. And of course, the main event tonight is Keira Hogan teaming up with her hero, her most recent opponent in Mickie James, and they're going to be challenging for the NWA Women's Tag Team Championship. Now, this is part of the problem I mentioned earlier, that the NWA doesn't really have enough women tag team wrestlers. But it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out, because I do feel like Alisyn Kay, Marti, Belle are going to be tag champions for a while. But what's going to happen on the other side of the coin? Thus far, Keira Hogan and Mickie James have been very close. It seems like after every match, there's still that emotional embrace between the two. And then, of course, we know that Mickie James is set to defend the Knockouts Championship in Impact Wrestling against Deonna Purrazzo. So I don't know if any of that will spill into what the NWA is doing, if we'll have a sneak attack with Deonna, or if Keira Hogan might be a hit woman for Deonna. I mean, these are all options. I don't know if any of it's true, but these are things that could happen. So we'll see. Bobby Batito wants to know, or would like to see more of Christy James in the NWA. I don't blame you. She's a great talent. But what he wants to know is, who's the next challenge for Chris Adonis? I really think this season will be telling about who will be the next challenge for Chris Adonis. I mean, there's a litany of guys who could challenge for that title. Of course, one of my favorites, the Pope, probably won't be because of the concussion that he suffered on the first day of the TV tapings. It doesn't look like he will be partaking in much of the show at all because, again, he's been injured, or he was injured over those 4 days, so he probably won't be on TV very much, if at all. So that begs the question, who's available? James Storm was out filming a movie. That's why he wasn't part of the TV. There could be some sort of internal disagreements with Tom Latimer and Adonis. Crimson, I think that's a good one. I think Crimson would make a great challenge for Adonis's national championship. But again, I don't know how much they're finished, the feud between he and Jax Dane, because it seems like they're still going back to that with the whole Mims versus Jax with Crimson in his corner. Just, again, silliness for the sake of being silly. Willie Our PowWilly says the NWA should bring in the Briscoes, Reno Scum, and the Bodega for the Crockett Cup and the Power Tag Team division. I like all of those teams, to be perfectly honest with you. I think Reno Scum is one of the most highly underrated tag teams that are out there. I know that their run with Impact was anything less than spectacular, but I think they're really, really good. I don't think they get nearly enough credit that they deserve. Of course, the Bodega, former United Wrestling Network Tag Team Champions, now currently 51-50 in MLW, holding those tag titles, starting to wrestle in Puerto Rico, starting to wrestle in Mexico. Danny Limelight and Slice Boogie have really been taking off. Slice Boogie had a relationship with the NWA. I don't know if that went south because of his deal with MLW, but if there's a way to bring that team in, I think it'd be another interesting cog to put into the Crockett Cup. But, let's be honest, the MLW champions aren't taking an L to anybody in the NWA. So it would have to be one of those worked spots where maybe, them and perhaps another MLW tag team battle to a double disqualification. Maybe the Von Erichs, for fantasy booking here. Doty says, I want Tootie Lynn's Team Ambition to come to the NWA. They always mention she represents Team Ambition, so why not bring in the rest of the team? Mike Outlaw would be a good addition for the junior division. Doty, you're bringing up a lot of great points. Team Ambition, not the old Davey Richards and Kyle O'Reilly group from the NWA Smoky Mountain days, but the Team Ambition from the Midwest. Certainly, yeah. Again, the problem is you can't bring everybody. A lot of Ring of Honor talent is now going to be without a contract at the end of the month. There are still so many names who have been released from the WWE. There's so much great talent that's available that the cream is always going to rise to the top. And, whether it's Billy with the NWA or GCW or AIW or United Wrestling Network or MLW or, I can go on and on, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, all these wrestling promotions are going to look for the best value, not the best name talent, but the best value. What's the most bang for my buck? If I bring in, say, John Morrison, Johnny Mundo, Johnny Nitro, Johnny Alliance, if you bring in a guy of that caliber to the NWA, certainly it'll get people talking, but you would have to put him in the spotlight almost immediately. And does Johnny Nitro versus Trevor Murdoch make sense for a World's Heavyweight Championship? And I know that's not the point you were making, Doty, but it's there's so much good talent out there that you can't take everybody. Even Tony Khan and AEW can't sign them all. It'll just be interesting to see where things go. And if Ring of Honor is on that hiatus until April, hey, maybe we'll see Jonathan Gresham in an NWA ring. Maybe, you don't know. We really don't know. And that's kind of the beauty of all of it. My boy, Jason Newsom, what is up, brother? How are you? It's been a minute. Willie Bowen and Midnight Heat. Midnight Heat is a lot of fun. And I think Midnight Heat are more like the Midnight Express than FTR ever was like the Midnight Express. I think Midnight Heat would be like gangbusters for the NWA. But, I don't know if it's because they are so embedded with the United Wrestling Network or if it's because they're all the way on the West Coast. We know that Billy flies in a lot of talent from Southern California. Most recently, it's been Jordan Clearwater. It's been Chris Adonis. It's been Captain Yuma. So it's not like he's afraid of flying out talents from Southern California, but and I know that Midnight Heat is actually from the Pacific Northwest, but we'll just have to wait and see. But we're coming up against it, guys. There's 5 minutes left till we're at the top of the hour. So, shout out to my girl Raze. If you guys are going to, anyone out there who is a fan of the Women's of Wrestling superheroes, wow. Raze is going to be a part of the show. And if you know anything about this show, this podcast, we're huge supporters of Raze. She's been on a friend of the show for quite some time. So shout out to her, props to her. I look forward to seeing big things for her with the Women's of Wrestling superheroes. But I guess that's going to end it here, guys. Again, we do appreciate you guys being here every Tuesday as part of this pre-show, the pre-party for the NWA Power. But make sure you tune in on Thursdays, because Thursdays at 8 p.m., you can check out me, DKM, and maybe Jaden. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but Kevin had some surgery recently, and he's been out of commission for a while. I don't know exactly when he'll be back. Might not even be till the start of next year. But we do a recap show recapping this episode of Power you're about to watch on Fight. If you haven't subscribed to Fight, you can do so by heading to fight.tv and get in on that subscription program. Because again, for $5.99 a month, $4.99 a month, whether you're a fan of the NWA diehard, or if you just want some new content, $5 a month isn't that bad. And of course, with the YouTube show coming out, you're probably going to want to watch both of those programs to be up to date on everything that's happening in the NWA. If you like this podcast, please give us a thumbs up, like, subscribe. And until next time, my friends, it's always fun on a Tuesday talking to you guys. We will see you at the matches.
Thanks again for tuning in to the Alliance Blog Podcast, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you won't miss any future episodes? We'd also like to remind you that we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific on YouTube at the Alliance Blog. And you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, TikTok, and Twitch at the Alliance Blog. Remember, absorb what is useful, reject what is useless, add what is essentially your own. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.